Good evening. I'd like to start this presentation of the State of the City for the Medina City Council. We're going to try to run, this is about a 60-minute presentation, try to run through it in about 30 minutes, so it's going to go pretty quick. Oops, not that quick. So this first slide is kind of a foreshadowing of what the presentation's about. And on July 12th, I was walking through the Sully's lot, just to the west of the front there, and a young lady's walking through the parking lot. And I didn't know what she was excited about, but I could tell by the look at her on her face. I mean, she had this huge smile, this spring in her step, as she's walking across the parking lot and towards a vehicle. To get into the vehicle, here her mother was inside the vehicle waiting on her. And when she got in the front seat of that car, her smile literally took up almost the whole front seat. And she announced to her mother that, "I got the job. I got the job." And the excitement that I saw on her before she got in the car, and then to share that with her mom, reinforced for me what the administration, the council, and the community do collectively to create opportunities for employment ongoing for people from young to whatever age. So we have a number of partners that we work together to create amazing events in our downtown. We do that by keeping the downtown very clean and upkept. The flowers add a great deal of ambiance, as well as the historic buildings being upkept. We're drawing larger and larger events, and what we're doing differently now than that we hadn't in the past is everything we do is in partnership with Main Street Medina, the Chamber, the city, and the county economic development. We're all pushing in the same direction and helping one another. All our parking's free. Medina was named the Ohio Best Hometown by Ohio Magazine for 2018, 2019, and this is the second time we've been bestowed that award. My first year in office, 2010 and 11, we were also recognized for that. And then we also partnered with the Evening Rotary to add to the city the 9/11 memorial next to Fire Station 1. We're working with partners in healthcare. Kevin, I don't usually use media quotes in mine, but here's one from you. This is a quote from Kevin McManus from the Post and a picture of Metro Health. It says, "Mayor sees maternity opportunities in Metro Health. The new state law could be a game changer for Medina County mothers," and we hope that it is. The Healthy Medina program with the Cleveland Clinic, we've been blessed with our relationship with the clinic, aside from the maternity care. And the city had no health care increase in 2017 and a 7.5% reduction in 2018, which is unheard of in the region and across the state. Our police and fire respond to all LST calls and backup for proper medical care. The AED that we use is the same exact one used by LST. The advantage of that is when the medics get on the scene, they can electronically send that information to the hospital, and if it meets certain criteria, they will auto-launch a helicopter. And what we've seen with heart patients needing a heart catheter at the main campus is many times the patients never go into the hospital. They go from the scene to the ambulance to the helicopter to the cath lab, and some of those are being done in less than 60 minutes, from 911 call to catheterization, which is unheard of. They're trying to do it within 100 minutes, so less than 60 minutes is pretty amazing. And as the top slide or picture shows there, we are trying to establish a relationship with Metro Health to bring healthcare services to Medina, not only birthing, but whatever else they would like to bring to Medina County, because competition and choice is always good. And I'd like to thank Senate President Larry Obhoff and Representative Steve Hambley for assisting us in getting that law changed to permit that to happen. We do a great deal of partnering with the county offices. Our cable TV office does a great deal of filming for them. Economic development, as I mentioned a few slides back, we work very closely with county economic development because there are things that they can offer that the city doesn't have available, and vice versa for the businesses in the city. I serve on the county economic development board, and the sanitary engineer serves on our city economic development board. With engineering, we have some collaborations. The county actually runs the sewer system in the city of Medina. We have an agreement for emergency water connections to the county system. The highway engineer and our city engineer work together so that when we're closing some roads, it's not going to adversely affect what they're doing, and vice versa, versus us counting on using their road and it's closed and ours is closed and now people have nowhere to go. The rec center allows county employees to use the facility at a reduced rate. With the parks, the city leases Medina Lake, or Lake Medina, to the county parks. We've connected some of our trails back and forth together and promote each other's activities. There's also a taller reaching bucket truck from the highway engineers that has been borrowed by our Parks Department for field lighting at some of our tallest lights on the baseball fields. With our police officers, we have a full-time officer assigned to the County Drug Task Force. We assist with the Medina County Explorer program, Medina County PAL program. Jim Shields is the president of the board of the County PAL program. We have a great deal of mutual aid between the township police agencies, the sheriff's department, and the city, and work collaboratively on a variety of services. And then service, the city and the county share the maintenance costs of the parking deck behind the Common Pleas Court, which helps with a lot of the events that we're having on the square. The maintenance staff work well together. There are times that they have a piece of equipment or parts that we don't, that we can borrow until we get it replaced, and vice versa. Nino also serves on the County Transit Committee, and I'm currently serving on the County Facilities Committee, and it remains our hope and prayer that we're going to be able to do a combined court system with the county and the municipal court. So a great deal of what we do is to help businesses grow, both commercial and industrial. In the city, some unique things that we do is we'll meet on their site if they're actually located in the city. So rather than them have to pack up all their people, bring up all their drawings, and bring it here, we go to their site, and that's much more convenient for them. And I don't know of anybody else that does it that way. After hours, if inspections are needed, the building department has been very helpful to keep projects on track, sometimes even on the weekends. We've replaced, with the help of council, all the industrial roads, created wider radiuses for trucks, and extended commerce from Branch to Liberty. We're currently working with ODOT for industrial trucks to intercept them at State Route 3 and 162 and direct them over to Lake Road. We have to get permission from ODOT to put the sign there, and another one at 162 and Lake, to keep those trucks from even coming in the square if they don't need to. They're just trying to get to our industrial area. The other thing we're going to do is put a mast arm over the East Liberty Street next to the parking deck and try to direct the trucks west onto Liberty to Commerce, and then redirect them back into the industrial area there. The more we can keep them from going around the square, the less congestion they cause there. The city owns a portion of the railroad, and we reduced the rail users' fees for 5 years from 2013 to 17 from $17,500 a year to $10,000 a year. So we saved them $7,500 a year for 5 years. We still found that the reserve was a little bit more than what we truly needed. It's in excess of $300,000. So we decided, in renegotiating the next 5-year contract, to waive the fees for 18 and 19 and then get back together and see where our reserve is at that point. On average, we're spending $50,000 to $65,000 a year on repairs, so that reserve will last us a period of time. And it just puts more money into the property owner's ability to buy new equipment, hire more people, versus us take it when we don't really need it. Decisions like that helped us won the Carlisle Brake and Friction to close their Oklahoma plant and bring all those jobs to Medina. And it also helped cause expansions at Sandridge, Drug Mart, and fire decks to double their size. This is an interesting statistic. In 2017, this is commercial and industrial, the total investment in the city of Medina in buildings and equipment was over $116 million. And we thought that's 2017. We thought 2016 was a good year when we did $37 million. But we nearly tripled that. And in addition to that, we created in that same year over 500 new jobs. So we're working to engineer solutions. We've been challenged as a city with a variety of just unusual events that occur. And it's amazing to me time and time again that the team pulls together and we find a way through that. While I was still the police chief in July of 2001, we had the fairgrounds explosion with numerous injuries and a number of deaths. And to coordinate with fire and EMS the response to a situation like that, where you have 4 helicopters on the ground, 4 staging in the air, and ambulances lined up, and have to be able to keep track of which facility each of those injured persons are going to, so that you can relate that to the families. How that was handled and how efficiently it was handled is pretty amazing. Then January of 2014, we were notified that Avon Lake's water inlet was frozen, and we had to, in short order, put together a plan to cross-connect the city's water to the county's water, and also boosted the amount of water that could be pumped on the north end of town with a fire truck. And we were able to maintain water service, which is important not only just for day-to-day activities, but necessary to fight fires should we have one. In February of 19th of 2018, we had the partial building collapse on the square, and again had to have a partial evacuation, had to shut the utilities off, maintain traffic, and reroute traffic around that. And then last but not least, July of this year, we had the 6-inch gas line puncture at West Smith and South Court Street, and they established a blast zone of about a block in every direction. So literally we were going door to door to every commercial business, every residence, and trying to get people out of those buildings. And then we took every available law enforcement member that we had, from the administration to our detectives to our patrol division, and had them directing traffic to avoid that circumference around the area until we could get the gas line shut off and get the repair started. Working with small businesses, we do combined ribbon cuttings with Main Street, the Medina Chamber, County Economic Development. We also give a video and photos to the press and owners for promotional use. We do press releases for each, so that the media can help us with bringing some attention to these new businesses. Many of the council members, our state legislators, department heads will attend these. We've also this showcase directly behind the council there. Right now we have some bicentennial things on display, but we've opened that up for new businesses too. And then again, with the idea of collaboration, the city, the Chamber of Commerce, Main Street Medina, and the CDC together created the maps of the downtown with all of the upcoming events, and we keep those in the public restroom area, we keep them at City Hall, we keep them in the businesses, and the advantage of that is people can literally take that with them. They have it at home now, and then they know that a month from now this event's happening, 2 months from now this event's happening, and it's just a good way for us to market the city and bring folks back and keep our businesses thriving. We do a great deal in the city working with our churches. I did that when I was the chief of police and continued that as mayor. Some of the events that we do together, the National Day of Prayer, which is the first Thursday in May, the annual Martin Luther King celebration, the Black History Month church anniversaries, pastors' anniversaries, and recognition services. And this year, on October 7th, they're planning it, but they're hoping to have, again, talking of unity and collaboration, a World Communion Sunday on our square in the evening of October 7th. The details are still being worked out with that. We do a great deal with our city schools. We provide them 2 full-time school resource officers at no charge, and they provide us with IT services. We share the cost of a civil service office. They help clean and maintain the rec center and the performing arts center. We buy our office supplies together because the bulk saves us both tax dollars. We share equipment and facilities. Jim Shields is an expert in HR for the city schools and has been very helpful to us with HR needs, questions, and interviews because the city doesn't have an HR department. The civil service does a little bit, the law director does a little bit, I do a little bit, and Jim does the rest. Jim's been a great asset for us. We buy our salt together for treatment of the pavement. The schools provide us an impound lot for police cars that are seized. Vehicle diagnostics. The schools have one set of machines and the city has another, and we can use them back and forth on our respective vehicles, again, saving tax dollars. Before I was mayor, Jim had a third grade local government program, and when I took over, he asked if I would assist him with it, and Jim presents the council perspective to the third graders, and I do the administrative perspective, and we find it's just a good way for the youth to gain just a little bit more knowledge about what goes on here with their local government. The Bowman Lane House is used by the schools for special needs students. We have school staff on our city economic development committee. We share baseball and softball field maintenance. Some of the computers, when they age out for the city, the school still has use for those. So instead of us putting them in an auction and getting pennies on the dollar, we give them to the schools, let them use them for a next number of years, and then eventually we'll still get those same pennies on the dollar. And then we did diversity training, both city and school staff in 2016, and disaster. The school provided us with a disaster recovery center so that if we'd come in tomorrow and this building is not here, we could fire up computers over in this room at the high school and have City Hall operating just from a different location. And that's been a lot of work by our IT folks and the IT folks at the school. We do a good deal of work with our senior citizens. We have a senior snowplow program, a program that was originally Love Medina, and now it's more like a community service day, where we'll go out and pick up leaves, lay mulch, maybe paint a fence, mostly outside things for our seniors to help them out. Our trash men, many times every week, take cans to and from houses for those that are either disabled or seniors. And I've been asked a number of times why we don't privatize our sanitation department. That's one of the main things right there. One is we cannot keep the monthly fees as low as they are right now. The second thing is you lose the community service aspect by doing that. And then just this past year, 2018, the council agreed to financially support the senior meals program for seniors in our community who are food insecure. Working with the Friends of the Cemetery, they and the city together built a new administrative building, which was very important and respectful for families, because when they come in to buy a lot for a loved one that they're going to have to bury or cremate, before they were in the garage with the vehicles and the smell of gas and oil, and now they're in an office and it's just better for them. The Friends of the Cemetery helped with the hard-edged lake and refurbished the old lake. They built the first columbarium wall, and we are now working on a second, and that's for the cremains, the little niches for the cremains. They paid to restore the mausoleum at the cemetery, construction and maintenance of the Soldiers Mound in the Memorial Garden, They restored 199 gravestones in the Old Town Cemetery, this is Spring Grove. The Old Town Cemetery is that little cemetery between St. Paul's and the County Administration Building. And they assisted in getting Spring Grove Cemetery on the National Register of Historic Places. Community sponsors pictured there are Murray and Sue Van Epp, who have been very gracious to the city. They paid for that fountain there at the public restrooms. They paid for a water feature, mushroom-looking thing at our revamped city pool. They are paying for some of the upstairs engine house repairs and flooring to create offices up there for CDC, Main Street, if they're interested. If not, for the Archive Commission. And this year, pending yet, there's a foundation at the very entrance to the walkway from the square. You'll see a cement slab there. They're also buying a bicentennial bench to add to the park up there. The Stevenson Foundation has been very gracious to the city. They paid for a sitting wall at the Bicentennial Commons. They paid for Memorial Park pavilion rehab, and right now they're paying for the Ray Mellert Park pavilion rehab. The Community Design Committee is going to use the upstairs of the firehouse. The Rotary Club, Evening Rotary Club, built a 9/11 memorial next to the fire station on Reagan Park. The Kiwanis Club plants flowers each year at Jump Park, and they also help sponsor the reconstruction of the pool concession stand. And the Medina Trails maintenance crew every year donates thousands of hours of service and funding to maintain our mountain bike trails. And our many sports associations, soccer, softball, baseball, they all help with the field maintenance improvements and donations. Our safety forces work very well together. Police, fire, and EMS go to the calls together, and we also work with the agencies surrounding us. I told you how quickly we were able to deal with some of the heart issues. We also dispatch for the city of Medina, Medina Township, and Montville Township, and Lafayette. We just took over Lafayette policing, and we're dispatching our officers because they're providing that policing service. We're still in discussions for a fire district. We think we're going to be able to bring that to fruition. It's just what shape and form is still what's being determined. We are looking later this fall yet. We've always had police officers trained to assist EMS or LST, but we've never trained police officers to assist the fire department. And when I was posed with the question of wouldn't it make more sense when the fire truck rolls up if the police officers could start unrolling the hoses, take the caps off the fire hydrants, start getting them hooked up, while the firemen themselves that are going to fight the fire, putting the heavy-duty equipment on, the helmets, the breathing apparatus. Again, it's just a good use of existing staffing and resources, and it gets us into the fire that much faster. So we were waiting to get through the summer vacations, and we're then going to start training both law enforcement and LST staff on that new initiative. It's really, we see it as the norm, but it's really a unique and unusual collaboration and cooperation between safety forces that's not seen in most places. We've been working to improve our infrastructure. If you've driven in the city at all, you've noticed that with some of the road closures. In 2017, we did the North Harmony Bridge, the West Smith Phase 2, West Smith Road Bridge, and Wadsworth Road waterline replacement. Those total projects were a little over $4.5 million, and of those, we had almost $2.7 million in grants, which was 59%. And then in 2018, we're going to do the South Elmwood Bridge. We did the Guilford Bridge. East Smith Road reconstruction is done by the get-go. We're going to do the block over by Garfield School yet. Lafayette Road sidewalks, Champion Creek, multipurpose path and streetscape, and the airport north and south taxiway. Again, those total projects almost the same as last year, almost $4.8 million in projects. Grants were a little more than 2.8, or another 59%. and the South Broadway reconstruction we're looking at for 2019. And then I separated out the 42 project. It's been a 2-year project. It's going to open up here in October of 2018. But for the public's benefit, it was over $31 million in grants. I'm sorry, it was over $31 million, the total project. In grants, it was almost $28.5 million, which is 91% state dollars we're bringing back into the city, and then matching with a small amount of our money to have a very nice project when they're all said and done. With our bicentennial, we've had a great deal of events, and I need to give the Bicentennial Committee and the chair, Roger Smalley, a great deal of thanks and gratitude for all that they've done. It's been a year's worth of events, and we've also had partnerships with NASA. We brought the NASA trailer in. Ohio Edison hooked up temporary electric. Sandwich Foods agreed to go up and pick up the trailer and bring it down for us because it took a certain truck to do that. The county let us use their county administration lot. The library has hosted a number of talks, and the Medina Community Band has had various musical themes from different eras throughout the summer here. So working to keep Medina special, let me just share with you a few of the things so that you see what I see day in and day out. December 17th, there was a kindergarten class walking to Courthouse Pizza for a field trip. And overnight there was a very heavy snow, and they were supposed to meet up there at 9 a.m. And the teacher, after the field trip, wrote me an email to say she was happily surprised when they got to the square to see that the sidewalks, both in front of the stores and the park itself, had all been cleared and were salted before they got there at 9 a.m. December 29th, 4 a.m. in the morning, we had a massive water break we were having a hard time finding. When I say we have a hard time, everybody that's on duty, not necessarily the clerks here, but all police, all fire, LST if they're not on calls, all of our service people are looking, trying to figure out where is all this water going. And it was kind of unusual, and that's why it was so hard to find, is it was between the Suma entrance on the south side of 18 and the Rocky River Bridge. So the water was, it was a very deep pipe, and the water was just seeping out of there and going right into the river, so you didn't see it running down a street or coming out of a building or anything. And it was so deep that our equipment couldn't address it, so we had to collaborate with a local excavating company, Medina Excavating, to bring their larger digger and vaults that were large enough to work. Medina County offered us dump trucks without plows because all of ours had plows on them. And then Osborne, again, an unusual collaboration, Osborne let us get in and get the materials to then backfill with gravel after the repair was made, and just keep track of what we were taking from them without ever having somebody there. And that just shows you the relationship the city has. In the spring of 2018, there was a Birch Hill Drive resident who was suffering from MS and continued to fall and call LST for assists in getting up. And through a collaborative effort with LST, the Medina Fire Department, the Medina Building Department, as well as materials supplied by Home Depot, they've convinced this person to get some physical therapy first to strengthen herself. They cleared the house of a lot of the clutter that she wasn't able to do herself, and then they built a ramp from the garage to the house so that she could use that with her wheelchair. And they're now trying to get funding to get a chairlift so that she can then access the second floor. And since they've cleaned up the house and modified the house with these improvements, there's not been a single call to that house for assistance. So both her doing the physical therapy and the work of the staff have helped with that problem. In May of 2018, we had a oversized load coming along Court Street. The traffic lights are hung at 16 feet, the clearance, and the load required 17'4", which meant every time it got to a traffic light, they would physically have to lift the light, move the truck under it, and then lower the light. And we did that the entire length of North Court Street. And then Lieutenant Burke Bickler from the police department, who has a great relationship with the ODOT permitting group down in Columbus, called and asked them, why in the world are you sending this truck with a height requirement this much when our lights are only this much? And they agreed to let us down that truck at the Kmart lot until they could get the truck rerouted on a safer route. In May of 2018, we had a young man working on his Eagle Scout project. He was building a pergola at the United Church of Christ Congregational on the square there. Dan Gladish from our building department, Jonathan from planning and zoning, helped him prepare the plans because it had to go before historic preservation and also to get the building department's inspections and approvals. And when they met there for the final inspection, what the family thought was going to be the final inspection, Dan and Jonathan presented him with a binder of all of the plans, all of the permits, all of the pictures from start to finish, copies of the agendas of all the meetings they had to go through. And that act brought the young man's mother to tears. And I was proud of what the staff did with that. And then last but not least, swim lessons. So a mother writes me a note that she has a 2-year-old daughter who's very shy. Turns out she's the only one there for the lesson that day, July 10th. This is at the outdoor pool, and the instructor, whose name is Emily, spent a good deal of time establishing a relationship with this young girl, and gained her confidence. And the mother was very impressed with that, and wrote me that note. But what she was more impressed with was it was a 30-minute lesson. When a 30-minute lesson was over, another mother showed up with another 2-year-old because they had gone to the rec center instead of to the outdoor pool. And she said, I'm sorry, I went to the wrong pool. You know, here's my child, but I know the lesson was only 30 minutes. And Emily stayed another 30 minutes and did another lesson with that 2-year-old. Those are what we're seeing day in and day out with our folks. And it's just my honor and blessing to serve this fine community. And I thank you, Council, for working so well with the administration that we can carry all these things out. Thank you.
Thank you.